Hello. I have a lot to explain. I have been inconsistent. I've made grand promises and shown very little of it. For the last 5.5 years, I've been working on a project. More secret to some than others, but I've been working on a project that is designed to, as an accidental byproduct of its existence, solve the world's problems by highlighting the people, the systems, the subsystems, and the inner intergenerational architecture that goes to create the established power structures of the world. Basically, I'm going to poke the bear. And then I have a plan for the bear. Well, bears. The cycles of history are restarting. And I don't mean to alarm you, but I mean to alarm you. It's happening again. We have gone long enough in enough safety for us to lose our spines, not because we are weak and frail, but because they are surgically removed during infancy. Please remember what could have been. This is a functional society, but it is also a captive society, because it cannot function with a will of its own. So ask yourself, who benefits from you not being in control? I mean, there's many answers. One of them is you, and everyone else, in a collective state of self-disempowerment. Now, this is where you risk alienating the more spiritually aligned woo-woo-esque people, including myself, kind of. So at the risk of favoring one side or the other, I will do my best to trample on both sides of the line. Everyone sucks. Everything sucks. Every idea, every concept, every philosophy, every religion, every nation state, every geographical border, every town, every city district, every politician, every person, every compassionate lost soul seeking what? The only question that matters. Who the fuck are you and what the fuck are you doing? And once again, it's simple. Do your best to be you. Be the best that you can be. And understand what that means. So it would help to design yourself a core pillar of moral and philosophical creeds. Convenient that I have something built for that, by the way. And convenient that I also have 6,000 plus hours into this project, 2,500 hours of audio and video content recorded as raw archive notes, 18 journals of one subseries, a bunch of others, thousands of documents, dozens of projects, 25 years of established timeline, technically now 24, because basically I've created a 5-phase model that gets us to 2050, and well, then we find the bear and we poke it with a really big stick. And in the meantime, we have fun. It's hard for me to convey what's coming, both in the sheer calamity and suffering that the world will continue to things are going to get hard. And we can joke all we want, but legitimately we are entering a 125-year period of social, civil instability, religious divide, political dogma, ideological separations through everything from the concept of economy as to how to run a political system. And at the end of the day, we do not benefit from not being kinder to one another. That is going to be a lesson that is very important to remember, especially as it gets a lot harder. And trust me, it will. Brace yourself. because this is going to be the century of humiliation. And the people who are currently being humiliated, those who are in charge of the power structure and yet doing an abysmal job at it, who are continuously failing and shirking their responsibilities, selling out the people for the sake of the shareholders and the stakeholders, to whom they have a fiduciary responsibility to make forever money in a closed, finite system that only has so many resources, including, but not limited to, people, their time, and their ability to care. Because what happens when you take a population, you deprive them of the basic necessities required to live a life, and then you basically do 150 years of 5 to 7 generational cycles of population breeding. You know, make them a little fatter, a little less kind and connected, completely misinformed, not even foundationally capable of understanding the sequence of logical thought and analysis. Captive. We are captives, and shit's gonna get real. So here's the thing. I may not always be serious, and sometimes I'm too serious. Here I'm going to try to legitimately walk a very fine line. Dark times are coming. I literally have spent hundreds of hours exploring that concept, both in written and audio form, and paper. But get ready for the century of humiliation. It is going to be a century of economic instability, growing restlessness, political ideological divides, housing, immigration. Everything is kind of coming all at once, and most people are going to be fucked. Approximately 99% of them. But what if you were part of the 1%? Not in wealth, necessarily, though genuinely, that becomes a far more statistically likely outcome as a result of this process. What if, hypothetically, there was an operating system that you could learn to literally teach yourself and upgrade every part of you to the way and specifications that you want? Because here's the lovely thing, and I've put a lot of work into this. I'm not right. It's like science. Science doesn't get to say, this is the objective truth, everyone else fuck off. It says, what are the current facts? What is the evidence to back it up? What hypotheses do we draw from it? And based off of that, how do we then create a system that allows for accountability and checking and verification? And challenge. And so here's the thing. If you were to be challenged, do you believe you are in mastery of your environment and your person? Most people, myself included, of course, no. Who the fuck is in complete mastery of self? It's kind of like enlightenment. The problem is, as soon as you claim that you are enlightened, you've actually fallen down a few rungs and hit your head, and you're starting to be loopy, because that's not how that works. You're not enlightened and then become a superior being for the rest of your existence. It's more like time doesn't exist, and as soon as you accept that, you really learn to chill the fuck out, and you don't need to be as self-important all the time, which, confession time, is something that I have put a lot of work and will continue putting a lot of work into. Because, my God, do I have an ego. However, and this is where it gets complicated. This is, of course, the ego speaking, but it's not entirely unwarranted. It's just used as an overinflated defense mechanism from when I was a child. Ooh, my phone's running low on battery. Yeah, soon things will be changing. And perhaps I can explain my philosophy, just though 1 sec, because here's the thing. I've got a power pack built into my school bag, so I'm going to be just plugging this in. Then the power pack should automatically activate, assuming I don't cause it to fall. Yep, 18% in charging. Beautiful. Now the thing is, with an iPhone, I don't actually dare leave the screen and go check how much storage space I have, which is also going to be changing very soon. I've got a new phone coming in. I've had an iPhone 11 for God knows how many years, and probably 5 or 6. And from the near instant that I got it, I felt trapped by it. And because of emotional immaturity, I ended up taking a lot of that frustration out on my ex. Kind of a shitty thing to do, retrospectively. But hey, the gift of hindsight. that's a bitch. I'm gonna end this here. Well, no. Okay, the mood is gonna change. Because I've been very excited. And I legitimately, at any time, my phone could die. Not die of battery, but die of storage space. Because I have a 64 gig iPhone 11 from 2021, maybe 2023. Wait, no, it's not that long. Oh my god. Huh. It's interesting the stories we tell ourselves. But essentially, here's the thing. I'm only human. And that means something. But that's also kind of the point. We're not here to be perfect, we can't. As soon as you think you're perfect, well, it turns out you found some extra room to go. But that's the point. The point is to do your best with what you have. And when, at the end of the day, you ain't got shit, you start to appreciate everything you learn to once again reclaim, without it having to be proportionately misaligned with your concept of self and your integrity. Pretty sure it's illegal to walk on playgrounds at God knows what time of the night. Probably 2300 or 11 p.m. Which one is better? I don't know. I think the concept of time itself is kind of badly made. No shame on the Gregorian calendar, but it's been a few thousand years. There's some things that can upgrade. You should see how I write my dates. It's a process. But then again, most is basically everything of what I do. I learn to optimize the human experience. I turn life into a literal game with statistics. I was building an app with someone, but then my inconsistency in managing the project in my own time led to them kind of ghosting me, and the things I completely understand. I don't hold it against them. That's another thing about me. I'm very open-minded is not the right word. It's more that my mind is, by design, plastic, open to reinterpretation, remodeling, and reshaping. It means that I can quite literally change my conception of self over and over and over and over. And in the span of the last 7 to 12 years, I feel like I've been 3 to 5 different iterations of self. And here's the thing. Anyone can learn this. It's easy. Easy is the wrong term. It is not complicated, it is complex. The art of personal redesign, as an example. Do you understand and control your inner musculature? Do you have the ability to quite literally understand how to center your mind to not care? Are you able to walk into a crowd and simply be the version of yourself that you want to be, full state, full brow, and call attention to yourself while simultaneously not only diminishing the fear of ego inside, but also not using it to aggrandize yourself? Do you have mastery of your condition? Do you understand and value the worth of every person and thing around you to the equal extent of your own self-conception? Do you love yourself so much that you have to stand up for yourself out of principle without condition? Do you live without condition? Or is life conditional, as is the case for most, if not every person? For example, me right now, I literally have candy in this bag. Literally, I've got candy. And I ate one pack, I bought another pack. And it didn't feel right. In great part because of the motivations of why I went. Avoiding my responsibilities, wanting to soothe this ache and fear and anxiety deep inside, and at the end of the day, not really having a healthy outlet for that, because for all my talk of systems, I'm not using them. And that's what the Academy is all about. Learning to quite literally not only optimize, but live the human experience. It's really all we can do. The Human Experience Academy, the Academy, and eventually the podcast, and I've got 25 years planned out. I'm not even kidding. And I say 25 years so that people take me a little more seriously, but it's actually hundreds of years, kind of. Because you'll see there are phases to how I structure all of this. Also, my phone is, again, a low battery message. I guess when walking, the phone connection becomes inconsistent. We will do our best. At least I get the 20% warning. Though, again, at any time my phone could be full of storage. I had maybe 20 gigs left, so assuming it's going to save a little bit to be conservative, I've got 15 gigs of data, currently running at 30 frames a second, probably 180p resolution, I want to say, most likely. So I'm assuming that there is anywhere between 20 minutes and 35 as a conservative estimate. So there's a chance it ends in 5 minutes-ish, in 20 minutes-ish, or in 40 minutes-ish. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying your best, but it's also about understanding what that means. There's a concept that I have labeled perfect imperfection. Perfect imperfection. The idea is, if you could have done better, you literally would have. Logically speaking, if anything could have been done in that situation so that the outcome would be better, you would have. Now, you can tell yourself that, in this hypothetical scenario, maybe I had more luck, more foresight, more this, more that. Maybe I could have gone a little further if I knew what I knew now. But that's the thing. You didn't, you can't, you couldn't. If you could have, you would have. You were perfectly imperfect. Perfect imperfection is the art of understanding that you have to simultaneously try your best and also forgive yourself because you literally did your best. If you could have done better, you literally would have. No matter the situation, no matter the exception, yes, maybe there are more limitations currently on you than are necessary, but who is to draw the line between necessary and, there's a specific word here, accusatory? Do you deserve to feel shame because of what you've done, because of who you are, because who you believe yourself to be and not be? Do you deserve to be shamed? And does that have to be incompatible with deserving to be loved? Again, if necessary. If you're wise, and even just a little clever, you will always have at least one person who has your back. And yes, I am talking about yourself. And when you become the hyper-optimized, battle-scarred version of yourself, ready and willing, in part because of circumstance, in part because of consequence, and you ask yourself, am I a good person? Am I a great person? What am I as a person? What do I stand for? Who cherishes me? Who do I love? What defines the value of your existence? Do you have a price on your identity? Do you know your value? And do you enforce it with others? Are you in full awareness and understanding of your finances? Do you have inbox zero? Do you live with such boundless confidence and resolve that every person you meet cannot help but stare just a little longer in awe of the version of themselves they see they always could have and still can be? Do you inspire yourself? Do you trust yourself? Can you count on yourself? Do you know that you will always be there for yourself? If the answer is no in any way, congratulations, you've got a new map, a new game, a new mission, if you accept it. And here's the thing, you don't have to. I was speaking with someone recently, and when explaining the Academy and everything it contains, and basically creating an open source roadmap to the human experience, fully customizable to your needs, I'm so excited. She said, you can bring a camel to water, but you can't make it drink. Maybe it's a horse or something. My response was basically, and I think literally word for word, yeah, well, you can bring the camel to water, but if they choose not to drink, then they're free to dehydrate themselves to death. I'm not here to tell you that I'm right. Certainly not here to tell you that you're wrong. I'm here to show you what tools I use to understand that I am lying to myself. And hand you the privilege of doing that introspective work, understanding that you represent everything that you could be at all times. It's always there, it's always accessible. As an example, if you're still listening all this way in, or if you're popping in for a new little chat, hi, let's do an exercise. Take an inventory of who you are right now, how you are right now. What are your preconceptions? What are your fears? What are your limitations? What are your limiting beliefs? How do you consider and classify your own existence? Are you content? Are you happy? Are you safe? Do you feel any level of physiological stress and arousal at all? Are you capable of putting yourself back to a grounded, flat zero? Are you capable of heightening your sense of awareness, literally feeling your pupils shrink as focus increases? Are you capable of activating different lobes of your brain through concentration alone and the feeling of inner tingle? Are you capable of enhancing your awareness of experience? And again, if you don't want to work on that, you don't have to. But here's the fun thing. Every person, without exception, has at least one thing in every category that they can work on to get some level of benefit. Now, what really helps is understanding what's worth your time. Because a lot of people try to solve their problems by going at the surface level foliage, because it's where the rotten fruit will fall and it might contaminate and poison everything else around it, and it's also aesthetically unpleasant. And people kind of avoid you when your fruit tree is kind of rotting all over the place, including parts of yourself. And when you start avoiding yourself, oh my God, all those pretty little systems you put in place to keep yourself afloat and alive, well, they start to break. And here's what's funny about this current late-stage capitalist self-consuming system of exponential and infinite growth in a finite closed system with limited people, resources, and, you. Hi, cattle. I guess we're livestock. Well, we're stock, for certain, and I would consider myself alive. Do you? In which case, I think it's fair to consider the human population, the working class, and as livestock. We are literally stock that is alive. Let's go into another campus. Having fun exploring these. I haven't been on school grounds since, at night in this context, in years. It's really fun. I used to do this in my hometown. Beautiful place, fully accessible by bike, open. I had an amazing childhood, and I have all the gratitude in the world for that. My adolescence, on the other hand, was a little more self-limiting in the belief. And looking back, again, immense gratitude that it happened at all. My God, you don't realize when you're young. I literally don't know how to explain it. And I'm saying this for posterity. I'm also saying it for people who might have literally been in my situation. I was 16 years old in drama class in high school. Heritage Regional High School, HRHS. And Mrs. no, that's English in high school. I forgot her name. A glorious person. Kind of a bitch, but in a good way. She had a temper. Ooh. Charging not available. Liquid has been connected in the connector. Dismiss. Yeah, I'm guessing a little bit of snow or... that's interesting. Okay, well now the clock is ticking. I'm going to close this, put battery saver on, and do everything we can to keep this going as long as we can. Battery saver, low power mode, mail fetch, background app refresh, automatic downloads, and some other effects will be disabled. Good. No camera, I hope? Hey, still recording. Now I'm gonna give this some time to dry off, though given the temperature it's probably just gonna freeze inside of the connecting device. And then probably due for cleaning. The dries off. Just a moment. All right. Time to slowly head. No, we continue exploring. I'm building the academy because I'm looking to centralize my knowledge, and it just so happens that helping other people use and adapt these systems for themselves is quite literally very instructional for me. And it also happens to align with quite literally the mission that I've set myself on for the next God knows how many decades, if not quite legitimately centuries, because part of my work is also in the longevity community. And the way that I see it is the human average lifespan can be readjusted in a lifetime to the average, and yes, I do mean average globally, of 100 years of age. Our species is now more than capable with the correct access to not only resources, but also literal infrastructure and ways of life, which I suppose is a resource, to access a century of life. That also includes you. Statistically, you are probably in the 15 to 20% of the world to whom this applies, if you're listening to this, within 3 years of this being made, but you could live to 100 years. It's entirely possible, if not entirely probable, assuming no extra conditions or health concerns or unfortunate accidents. And that's kind of the nature of my work as well. So part of what I do is I have been running the Longevity Montreal community and working alongside Brian Johnson's Don't Die organization as basically the only representative for Don't Die in Montreal and the surrounding region. And officially, as I know, of Quebec, though I'm sure someone somewhere might be interested in helping with that. And if you are, well, hi, please get in contact with me and you will find a way. There is definitely a way to be found. And one day, the system will be a little more precise. Built-in safeguarding mechanisms and recruitment portals and blah, blah, blah. But today is not that day. We are still building. This is the investment stage, the seeding stage, where all of our dreams may or may not come true. Schrodinger's probability, if you will. But here's what's really interesting. You don't actually need to be convinced of a specific project's success, so long as you are convinced in the category in which you are operating that something in that category will happen. And when you have sufficiently analyzed basically every variable in any outcome that you can possibly attempt before simply overloading the physical and cognitive capacities of a human brain, well, then very little surprises you. Some elements of the board will change and your plan is never fully accurate, but the direction you're heading, just because you realize there's a big boulder in the way of where you want it to go on the map, it doesn't realize that the cardinal direction pointing on your compass has changed. So long as your compass is true. Do you have a true north? Do you have a set core of operating principles to which you hold? Do you define the essence of your character? Or do you let your character be defined by the circumstances around you? Do you know who you are? Do you know what you stand for? Do you know what you are not willing to do? And most importantly, do you know who and how and why and when you have and will continue to stand up for people in a state of injustice, starting, not first near exclusively, with yourself, and then becoming so attuned and aware of your own internal processes that you cannot help but start to care about others just a little bit more. I'm building the academy because I want to teach everyone how to build themselves. and it's actually relatively easy. It's complex. Right. It's not complicated, it's complex. There are a lot of moving parts. Thankfully, I'm very good at moving parts. But I also need some help, which is why I'm literally in the process of building a team and multiple projects. And like I said, 25-year, 5-phase plan. We're in phase 2, approaching phase 2.5. It's a thing. And when you have enough of the variables, the conclusion basically becomes a guarantee. That or you die. And here's the fun thing. Because I have quite literally spent, I say 6,000 hours to be conservative, but more. Realistically, in terms of the work that I would personally attribute to this project, including realizations and internal processing and experimentation, which I do think is a valid minimum 8,500, if not close to 10. But also realistically, in terms of what others might more proportionately think of as attributable work, at least 6,500. But legitimately, I think the number is much closer to 8,000 plus. 8,000 plus hours of work on a project in the span of maybe 5.5 to 6 years, with the sole intention of quite literally finding a theoretical but completely logically coherent solution to, everything, anything. Backwards engineer a solution to anything, thus creating the solution to everything. The everything solution. A logical probability map, both and more. There are at least 7 to 15 qualifiers to this concept. It will go unexplained because I'm lacking the ability to frame it. Literally in a metaphysically comic book kind of way, I frame an idea and form. Once you have the form of a concept, it's almost like you're drawing an outline of a concept, and then you're using your imagination to will it into pattern sequences that you need to self-deceive yourself into interpreting as the result of an action taken by a semi-quasi sort of conscious will, a will construct, a golem made of your own concentrated intentions, literally a figment of your imagination, but then so are you. And well, you exist because you really want to exist, and so make this really exist too. And it's actually a lot easier than you think. And that's the fun part. It's understanding that every single thing you can and want to be, you can, and maybe not should, but you can want to be better than you are. And that doesn't have to make you unkind. And that's a lesson that I'm learning. Because there was a time when I was quite unkind, and now I am still unkind on occasion, but it's much more unintentional as a byproduct instead of a direct consequence of action. And I'm working on it. I'm only human. And that's the point. If you hold yourself to a standard of perfection, you are guaranteed to fail. If you hold yourself to a standard of perfect imperfection, well, you must, of course, be careful to not become comfortable with the idea of sub-performance. Understand that you have and will always do your best without exception, without regard, without circumstance. And from it, you get to decide what that makes you. Do you accept it? Do you improve it? Very few things in this world are binary. This can be one of them if you want. But choose your binary decisions very carefully. Let me tell you a story. Science has come such a long way in the study of market consumer research habits. And we are a fickle little species. Let's say you take 2 stores, 2 restaurants of the same kind, 2 vending machines, 2 of something commoditizable. Let's go with that. Take 2 commoditization, 2 concepts that are commodities, 2 concepts, 2 points of purchase, and you give them as an option. You know what happens? You're more likely to buy something. Because the choice doesn't become yes or no, the choice becomes either or. Be wary of absolutes. You can deal in them, of course, but beware. They come at a cost. They must be done with intention. And for the love of God, keep an eye on them. Just because you made the decision once doesn't mean it's not going to change on you, and or that you're going to change your own opinion over time. Because, I don't know if you've noticed, but you're kind of alive. And that comes with privilege, and that privilege takes the form of responsibility. You are uniquely responsible for your own existence and everything that goes into its care. Do you maintain your own well-being? Do you maintain the health of those you love? Do you have any pets? And if you do, are you literally taking care of them? Do you understand the measure of your care? And here's where I asked myself that question with my own cat, Marcus, little Fluffy. Though at the time it was with a different cat, and conceptually I'd been working on this for years, but basically the care document, companionship and responsibility exemplified. You will see I like my acronyms, I love my systems, but essentially care, the care document, is a structure that allows you to understand your relationship to an individual or concept. It can be care of your own well-being, though technically that branches off into another system of mine called WAIT, W-A-I-D-T, wait, what am I doing today? Basically a question and a system wrapped up into an answer that is a self-performing, self-evolving, agenda, hybrid, task manager, goal setter, accountability buddy, and all-around purpose self-archival tool for another project that will be coming in at least 75 to 150 years. And take it from me, you'll want to have started early. Because like I said, we're in for a century of humiliation. And here's where it's important. The world is going to kind of go to shit. Political tensions are going to rise, and with it, so too will their borders. Entire empires will start getting destabilized by the evolving weight of technologies. Markets that were previously cut off from the global world will now have entry. Oh my, the populations that we've exploited for literal generations, entire countries that we've toppled, dictators we've taken down, well, that has an impact. And that didn't necessarily matter as much, if you will, right up until technology advanced to the point where even the poorest Indian, Bangladeshi, can have a cell phone, can have access to everything. Now the playing field is a little more equal, and some people aren't happy with that. Oh no, they're not. And those people are largely, but not entirely, responsible with the current state of the world. But then again, they always have been and they always will be, no matter what we do. There is no concept of a religion, a perfect system, a this, a that. At the end of the day, the only realistic outcome is going to be that we all start this cycle again. We can elect the most kind-hearted people, but eventually they'll be taken advantage of. We can elect the most heartless, cruel bastards, but then they'll sell us out as soon as they get the chance. We can install puppet dictators and govern with the people, but within a few generations, power will go to their heads. Wealth and privilege and success will tame their fire, and they will lose themselves to the excess and subjugation of passion. And then we will become cruel again. And this cycle will repeat. Or if you want a simpler version would be the quote. I personally came across it first on Joe Rogan and a few other people in that same general area. It did its rounds a few years ago, and I don't entirely agree, but I definitely don't disagree entirely. Great men make great times. Great times make weak men. Good men make weak times. Weak times make strong men. Weak times or bad times? Okay, I'm butchering this thing right now. Direct recall of a quote I haven't thought of in a while is perhaps not the wisest thing to do in this current state. But the idea is, when you have a society of very powerful, self-contained, and authoritative individuals, and you create a generation of wealth and privilege and status and the cultural belief in your own superiority, allowing you to moralize the subjugation and exploitation of basically everyone else in the world who does not get the privilege of cooperating on your level in your system with your rules. Well, that population becomes incredibly wealthy, incredibly rich, incredibly satisfied with their own power and ambitions and ego. And when that happens, well, the thing is, they become a little less kind, so they're less likely to impart kindness on their children, because, of course, if the children become kind, well, then we're going to see a revival of the hippie movement and peace and love crap, except they're, as they've always been done, mostly been run with people with no clear concept of what it actually takes to win. And once you topple the bad guy and you take over their systems, well, what do you do then? Do you take care of the system? Do you have the guts? Literally, are you capable of dealing with the filth that such reprehensible people quite literally lived and steeped in every single day? There's a reason they're in charge, and there's a reason most people avoid politics, because it's corrupt as hell. There's a reason we joke that people who go into law or people who go into politics are basically either inherently going to get corrupted or they're going to be powerless. Because it's kind of true, not all the time, but basically almost all the time, with nearly no exception for the rest of time. And that kind of sucks, doesn't it? I think it does. Look how pretty this is. Very pretty. Nice little park. It's not too far from where I live. And I saw this a few weeks ago. Genuinely so pretty. But yeah. This coming century will see incredible technological upheaval, political and socioeconomic tensions, blah, 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 all the buzzwords you want. But at the end of the day, the simple truth is as follows. And as always, of course, take this with a massive bag of salt. All the salt you want, my friend. But I would counsel you to listen nonetheless. Things are going to get rough. And we're all going to have a choice to make. Who do we become when the times get hard? Who do we stand up for? And does that include ourselves? Will we be in a position to have that flexibility and that freedom and that opportunity? Or will we be at the mercy of circumstance? Do we have the resolve currently to do what it takes to survive without condition? Do we live as we say? I know that right now I don't, but I plan to. Basically, if you're familiar with Brian Johnson, Don't Die, Blueprint, that entire world and philosophy, Blueprint is attempting to build the blueprint to human health and well-being in an entirely similar, or at least not dissimilar way. I am building a framework to understand what it means to be human. Brian Johnson is helping you live forever, and I intend on giving you something to do. The never-ending work of building and scaling yourself. He's healing the body and aligning our environment, and I'll be working on the mind and soul. The coming century, I call it a century of humiliation because essentially the people who are in charge are going to be exposed. They are corrupt, our environment is poisoning us, they're not accountable, and this will lead to massive waves of repercussions, which will be used to increase censorship and blah, blah, blah. And then by the time that we know it, the people who will survive the purge are the people who are powerful enough to have survived public ridicule and shame. Meaning, we will have self-selected out of the competitive market of our oppressors the few people who are vulnerable to our influence and sway. And unless we replace that power vacuum with some people of our own, things are going to get hard. And I'm very sorry to say that I don't have no confidence that in the next 25 years we're going to fix this problem. So chances are we're going to continue with it. And this, of course, leads to the next big question. Are you ready? Because you'll have to be. And if you're not ready, well, I mean, good luck. Sincerely, I wish you the best. And because of that, no, in part because of that, the overwhelming majority of the systems and the products and the ideas that I either make directly or contribute to, my God, I put a lot of effort into making sure that they are open and accessible to people. And I am largely talking about price. And that comes at a cost, because I'm basically slowing myself down for the sake of not selling my ideas to people who will abuse them and abuse you. And so I'm quite literally slowing down on the scale of decades. I could be in 5 years, or I'm going to be in 35. However, I will have done it at your expense. I don't accept that. And the problem is, right now, the world is a little too vulnerable to be in a position to help in the way that a more insecure version of myself wished it could be, to be saved. But here's the thing. The entire point of this is to accept and understand that we don't really need a savior, because if we wait for a savior, then, well, not only are they never going to come, but the people who do come, who are going to claim to be our savior, are simply going to lead us into a system that continues the status quo. Because, well, they've saved us. They haven't elevated us. They haven't taught us how to be on that level. They've just taught us how to not sink deeper. And if you continue that long enough, you basically create a system that literally trains you to be dependent on a larger concept that will falter if anyone really starts to fundamentally question its internal structure, which is another way of saying religion, politics, economics, philosophy, everything kind of. Well, no, some things more than others. Religion a lot more than others. And this is where I might once again alienate a few amongst you. And look, that's okay. I am who I am, but I also hope that by now you understand I'm a person who at least believes that they are a person of integrity. And genuinely, to my core, I do everything that I can to align myself with that objective. As such, I make you a promise. I will do the best that I can. I will be as transparent as I can for as long as I can. And I will quite literally do everything in my power to make sure that as many of us, not just humans, but basically as close as I can, I would like for everyone to help everyone. And of course, it's not going to happen in a lifetime, or even 10, or even 1,000. But because it's not theoretically impossible, you can literally graph and map it out. And that's what I've been doing for years. All that I'm missing is literally a team and the ability to do this for a living, and someone to help make content so that this can actually become, something. And that's part of why also I know that this is inevitable, because the amount of information that I'm compounding is genuinely breathtaking and slightly overwhelming, to be entirely honest with you. And because of it, it also means that I will need to show, because I'm kind of in a catch-22, I need to have the skills to use the information in such a way that I can demonstrate I'm worth belief. And then with that belief comes resources and support and backing and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, for the same reason that I don't currently have all that access and resources and notoriety, is one, because I've kind of just started, I'm very early in this project, but also because I'm still lacking certain skills. And again, that leads us to the Academy, where I'm basically designing a system to help me understand how to process my own human experience, and I'm turning that into an open source formula and literally designing it as an academy so that we can collaboratively design our own internal architecture. Now, here's the thing. My phone must be on the verge of dying. I literally maybe have 30 seconds to 2 minutes before my phone dies in my hand. Let me confirm. Oh, no, we're at 7%. Okay, we have a little